Let me start by saying this bluntly. Most men are going about relationships all wrong. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men don't realize that respect isn't something you demand or beg for. Respect, especially from women, isn't given when you chase, when you overinvest, or when you make someone else the center of your world. Respect is earned, but not in the way most men think. And here's the part that will make you uncomfortable. You earn it by detaching completely. Now, before you get defensive, hear me out. I'm not talking about being cold, emotionless, or selfish. I'm talking about creating a mindset and lifestyle where your happiness, your confidence, and your purpose are not dependent on her, attention, approval, or affection. This is a principle straight out of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches men to master themselves first rather than trying to control or manipulate someone else. And yet, despite centuries of wisdom, most men still fall into the trap of desperate attachment, and they wonder why respect seems so rare. Think about it. When you constantly check your phone for her messages, when your mood rises and falls depending on how she treats you, what does she see? A man who lacks control, a man who is emotionally fragile. And let me be clear, most women, consciously or unconsciously, sense this weakness. And it doesn't inspire respect, it inspires doubt. This isn't me trying to insult anyone. It's a reality you need to accept if you want to understand human nature, attraction, and the social dynamics between men and women. Women, like everyone else, respond to strength, calmness, and stability. They respect a man who is emotionally self-sufficient, a man who has a life beyond her, who is chasing goals, building his skills, and pursuing his purpose. In other words, a man who is detached, not from caring, but from neediness. Here's the most controversial part. Detachment doesn't make you a bad partner. In fact, detachment makes you more attractive because it signals confidence, self-respect, and personal mastery. When you detach, you stop overthinking, over-explaining, and overcompensating. You stop letting fear of rejection dictate your actions. And here's the kicker. As soon as you do this, respect doesn't have to be earned. It becomes automatic. Now, I know some of you are thinking, wait, so you're saying I shouldn't care? No, that's not it at all. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is control. It's the ability to care without losing yourself in the process. You can love, appreciate, and be present, but you don't let your identity or self-worth hinge on someone else's validation. That is the ultimate power move in any relationship, and it's one that most men never even attempt. Here's why. Detachment works. Human psychology is wired to value what is scarce and stable. When a man is emotionally dependent, needy, or reactive, he becomes predictable and frankly less interesting. But a man who is steady, independent, and detached, he becomes mysterious, respected, and let's be honest, magnetically attractive. Respect isn't born from grand gestures, expensive gifts, or constant attention. Respect is born from self-mastery, consistency, and the quiet power of detachment. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man who is constantly texting, calling, and trying to prove himself. He reacts emotionally to every small action she takes, good or bad. Compare him to a man who focuses on his career, hobbies, and growth, who engages with her when it makes sense but is emotionally self-contained. Which one do you think commands respect? The answer is obvious. Yet, most men continue to operate like the first example and then complain that women don't respect them or aren't serious. The truth is harsh, but necessary. Why? Ow cannot force respect. You cannot chase it. You can only become the kind of man worthy of it, and detachment is the tool that creates that transformation. It is Stoic philosophy applied to modern relationships. It's not manipulation, it's self-respect and action. When you detach, you stop acting from fear and start acting from clarity. You stop reacting to the highs and lows of someone else's behavior and instead operate from your own purpose and principles. And women notice this immediately. So if you're tired of being ignored, undervalued, or disrespected, the first step is to stop making your emotional life revolve around her. Stop seeking constant approval. Stop letting her reactions dictate your happiness. Detach completely, and you'll start to see a shift not only in how she treats you, but in how you treat yourself. Suddenly, conversations become easier, interactions become lighter, and respect, real unwavering respect, begins to appear naturally. In this video, we're going to break this down. We'll explore why detachment creates respect, how men can practice healthy detachment without becoming cold, and the mistakes most men make that destroy their respect before it even forms. By the end, you'll understand the controversial truth that most men refuse to face. You are never respected when you are attached. Only when you detach do you earn the kind of respect that lasts. Most men don't realize it, but the moment you become emotionally dependent in a relationship, respect starts slipping away. It's subtle, almost invisible at first, but it's happening every time you adjust your mood, your actions, or your decisions based on her reactions. Respect is not a reward for attention, effort, or constant approval. It's a response to strength, self-control, and independence. And the truth is harsh. Attachment is one of the fastest ways to destroy all of that. Think about this. When you feel the need to check in constantly, to explain yourself repeatedly, or to try to earn someone's approval, what are you really showing? You're showing that your value is external. You're telling her, even without words, that you are incomplete without her attention. That kind of behavior doesn't inspire admiration. It triggers doubt, indifference, or even subtle disdain. People, especially women, unconsciously sense when a man is insecure, and insecurity rarely earns respect. Now, let's break it down. Attachment doesn't only mean obsessively checking messages or calling too often. It shows up in small, almost invisible ways. You constantly apologize for things that aren't your fault because you're scared of losing her. You change your opinions or behaviors just to avoid disagreement or conflict. You overcompensate with gifts, favors, or attention, hoping to keep her interested. All of these actions are rooted in fear, not confidence. And here's the thing about fear. It's transparent. You can't hide it behind charm, words, or actions. Women sense it immediately because it is energy, not just behavior. And when they sense fear or dependency, respect diminishes. Let me make this real. Imagine a man who is dating someone he deeply likes. Every time she takes a bit longer to respond to a message, his mind races. He starts thinking, did I do something wrong? Is she losing interest? His day suddenly revolves around her response, and his confidence drops. He tries to impress her with jokes, compliments, or constant validation, hoping to fix the gap he feels inside. What does she see? A man whose emotional state is dictated by her, a man who cannot stand on his own. And the natural reaction is not admiration. It's reduced respect and increased emotional distance. Compare that to a man who has the same feelings, but handles them differently. He recognizes that his worth is not tied to her attention. He focuses on his work, his fitness, or his personal goals while enjoying her company without over-investing emotionally. If she doesn't reply immediately, he doesn't panic. If she disagrees, he doesn't crumble. He remains grounded, consistent, and self-contained. The difference is striking. The first, man is attached and needy, while the second is detached and strong, and respect naturally follows the second, man. Attachment also kills respect because it creates imbalance in the relationship. When you overinvest emotionally while she maintains her independence, a subtle power shift happens. She may enjoy your attention, but subconsciously she knows you are bending toward her. And bending doesn't equal strength. Strength equals stability, and stability equals respect. Men who attach themselves lose that stability, and the relationship loses balance. Another point most men overlook: attachment often leads to over-explaining. You feel the need to justify your feelings, your actions, or your time because you are afraid of losing her approval. But over-explaining is like revealing the inner gears of a machine. It takes away mystery. It exposes vulnerability, and it diminishes respect. Women don't respect a man who constantly justifies himself. They respect a man who has clarity, consistency, and self-control, even if he doesn't say much. Here's an example to make this clearer. Imagine a man who notices his partner isn't texting back immediately. Instead of panicking, he goes about his day, meets a friend, or finishes a project he's been working on. Later, when he interacts with her, he's calm, composed, and focused on enjoying the moment, not seeking validation. That subtle shift in energy communicates that he values himself and his life, not just her attention. She can feel it, even if she can't articulate it. That's respect, being earned quietly and powerfully, without words or effort aimed at forcing it. Attachment doesn't just affect respect in the moment, it erodes it over time. A man who is always reactive, constantly seeking reassurance, or visibly anxious in the relationship will eventually be seen as emotionally weak. Respect isn't be-all in moments of attachment. It is destroyed in them. Detachment, on the other hand, preserves a man's dignity, projects confidence, and keeps his presence magnetic. The bottom line is simple but uncomfortable. Most men are not respected because they are too attached. Attachment blinds them to the truth, weakens their presence, and makes them emotionally available in ways that aren't attractive. Respect is not a byproduct of attention or effort. It is a reflection of independence, self-mastery, and inner strength. The moment you detach, the energy changes. You stop reacting. You stop over-investing. You stop chasing validation, and almost magically, respect grows. Let's be honest, most men have never really experienced what it feels like to be completely detached in a relationship. Not the cold, distant kind, but the kind where your emotional life doesn't depend on someone else's actions or attention. Detachment is misunderstood. People hear the word and imagine a man who doesn't care, who is emotionally unavailable, or who is indifferent. But that's far from the truth. Real detachment is a state of strength, self-respect, and clarity. It's the ability to care deeply without letting it control your peace, your confidence, or your life. Think about your daily life. How often do you feel your mood swing because of her actions? Maybe she doesn't reply to a text quickly, or maybe she disagrees with something you said. Most men immediately feel tension, anxiety, or frustration. That's attachment talking. Detachment is the exact opposite. When you're detached, those things don't shake you. You notice, you process, but you don't overreact. Your energy is steady, calm, and reliable. You're present without being desperate. Detachment gives you freedom. It allows you to enjoy someone's company without needing constant validation. You can laugh, share experiences, and engage Ellie without feeling insecure. If things aren't going perfectly, you don't have to manipulate, explain, or overcompensate to feel secure. You just are. You exist as your own complete person, and that completeness is magnetic. People, and women especially, can feel it. There's an unspoken confidence that comes from a man who isn't tethered emotionally to another person's responses. It's subtle, but powerful. Another thing most men don't realize is how much attachment clouds judgment. When you're attached, it's almost impossible to see the situation clearly. You justify behaviors you normally wouldn't accept. You lower your standards without noticing. You give too much and receive too little. Detachment changes all of that. It allows you to evaluate a relationship, a conversation, or a dynamic with clarity. You notice patterns. You recognize respect or the lack of it, and you respond from awareness, not fear. Detachment also allows you to focus on yourself. You have room to grow, to pursue goals, and to build your life. Most men make the mistake of pouring all their energy into someone else and then wonder why their own lives feel stagnant. When you detach, your attention goes to your ambitions, your health, your skills, and your happiness. You become a man who is complete outside of a relationship, and that completeness naturally commands respect. Here's the part many men struggle with. Detachment doesn't make you emotionally distant. It makes you emotionally strong. You can care deeply and still remain grounded. You can love fully and still maintain your identity. You can be committed and still be independent. That combination, commitment without dependence, is incredibly powerful. It's rare because most men never learn to separate attachment from love. They confuse attachment with caring, and that's a mistake. True strength comes from caring, without losing yourself in the process. Being detached also changes your energy in ways that are noticeable to others. When you're detached, you're calm in chaos. You're steady when emotions flare. You're confident in silence, and you're present without being clingy. People notice the difference. It's the energy of a man who is in control of himself first, and that energy breeds respect naturally. Finally, detachment gives you perspective. You stop seeing the relationship as the center of your world. You stop needing constant reinforcement. You stop overthinking every word, every text, every gesture. And with that perspective comes a sense of freedom that is rare and attractive. Detachment is not about rejecting someone. It's about protecting your peace and respecting yourself. And once you do that consistently, everything else follows naturally. Confidence, clarity, respect, and even attraction. The truth is simple. Men who attach themselves emotionally lose their stability and lose respect. Men who detach completely maintain their power, clarity, and influence. Detachment isn't about pushing someone away. It's about standing strong while loving, engaging, and enjoying life on your own terms. It's a mindset, a lifestyle, and a secret most men will never understand. But when you embrace it, you step into a level of respect, confidence, and personal freedom that most men only dream about. Let's face it, most men are stuck. They keep making the same mistakes over and over in relationships, wondering why respect and admiration never come. They overthink, overcompensate, and overinvest, all while losing sight of themselves. And the truth, it's exhausting to watch. Men, wake up. Being attached doesn't make you caring. It makes you weak. It makes you predictable. It makes you forget who you really are. If you want respect, if you want influence, if you want a relationship that feels balanced, it starts with detachment. But here's the catch. Detachment doesn't mean shutting someone out. It doesn't mean being cold, indifferent, or distant. It's about being present while still being in control of your own life and emotions. The first thing you need to understand is that detachment is a mindset. It starts with realizing that your happiness, confidence, and self-worth are not her responsibility. Stop letting her actions dictate your mood or your value. When you stop reacting to every text, every tone, and every perceived slight, you reclaim power. And here's the criticism you need to hear. Most men never realize this because they've been conditioned to chase approval and validation. They've been trained to bend, compromise, and overinvest before they even know what respect looks like. It's time to break that pattern. Detachment also means prioritizing yourself without guilt. Most men think caring and detaching are mutually exclusive. They're not. You can pursue your goals, your passions, and your life and still be fully engaged in the relationship. The problem is that most men put the relationship above themselves, forgetting that the strongest, most respected men are those who live full, independent lives. You cannot expect to earn respect if your life revolves around someone else's presence, reactions, or attention. That's a simple truth that too many men refuse to face. Next, detachment requires emotional discipline. It's not about hiding how you feel. It's about controlling how you react. Most men lose respect for themselves because they allow fear, insecurity, or desperation to guide their behavior. They argue too much, apologize too often, or try to prove their value through constant effort. Detachment flips the script. You engage from a place of clarity, not panic. You respond when it matters, not because you're afraid of losing ground. And the result, respect grows because strength is quiet, consistent, and reliable. Another important point, detachment allows you to see reality clearly. When you're attached, you excuse behaviors, tolerate disrespect, and convince yourself that insecurity is love. Detached men see the situation for what it is. They recognize the patterns. They set boundaries, and they don't overreact to minor issues. They act with intention, not emotion. And this ability to maintain perspective is one of the most powerful tools a man can have in building respect. Here's a wake-up call. If you're still thinking that constant attention, effort, and validation will make her respect you, you're wrong. Stop lying to yourself. Detachment doesn't mean withdrawing your love. It means protecting your peace and living your life as a complete man. Women respect men who are calm, confident, and grounded. They notice when a man isn't desperate for approval. They notice when a man carries himself with purpose and clarity. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men fail to do this because they haven't prioritized themselves. Detachment also requires boundaries. Stop bending over backward to avoid conflict, disappointment, or discomfort. Stop over-explaining, over-justifying, or over-investing. Stand firm in your principles while still being present and caring. This is the balance that most men never learn. Without boundaries, detachment turns into arrogance or coldness. With boundaries, detachment becomes power. The kind of power that naturally commands respect without demanding it. Finally, understand that detachment is a practice, not a one-time decision. It requires daily awareness, discipline, and courage. Most men give up too early, let their emotions control them, and wonder why nothing changes. But if you commit to this path, the results are undeniable. You will feel stronger, more confident, and more in control of your life. You will no longer need to chase respect. It will come to you naturally. And most importantly, you will no longer lose yourself in the process. Men, here's the truth you need to hear. Stop being attached, stop being reactive, and start living as a complete man first. If you can do that, not only I will respect follow, but your presence, your energy, and your relationships will change in ways most men only dream about. Detachment is not rejection, it's mastery. And mastery is something most men refuse to pursue. Wake up. Your life, your confidence, and your respect are waiting for you, but only if you take control. Here's the part most men won't like to hear. If you are constantly attached, constantly seeking approval, and constantly bending yourself to meet someone else's expectations, you are never going to be respected. Not fully, not deeply. And here's the controversial truth. Most men are wasting their time believing that affection, attention, or constant effort will earn respect. It won't. Respect is earned in a completely different way. A way most men refuse to try because it requires discipline, patience, and detachment. I know that hits hard. It's uncomfortable. It challenges everything you might think about relationships and attraction. But that discomfort is exactly the point. Life doesn't reward attachment. Life doesn't reward neediness. Life rewards men who understand themselves, who are emotionally stable, and who live their lives on their own terms. And the fact is, most men are not doing that. They are losing respect before it even has a chance to form. Now, I want you to really think about your own experiences. How often have you overinvested in someone? How often have you let your mood be dictated by her texts, her reactions, or her approval? How often have you thought, if I just do more, if I just give more, if I just prove myself, she'll respect me? Most men have lived this cycle for years without realizing it. And here's the controversial statement you need to hear. You cannot force respect. You cannot earn it through chasing, pleasing, or overgiving. You can only become a man worthy of it by detaching completely from neediness and emotional dependence. I know that sounds harsh. I know it feels like I'm saying stop caring or stop loving. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying something far more powerful. Care, engage, and connect. But never let your sense of value, your confidence, or your peace depend on someone else. Detachment doesn't make you cold. It makes you strong. It makes you present. It makes you respected. And here's the part most men don't understand. When you detach, everything changes. Conversations feel lighter, interactions feel natural, and suddenly you notice respect appearing, almost automatically, without effort. This is not theory. This is life. It's what separates men who are admired, respected, and influential from men who are ignored, undervalued, or taken for granted. And it's simple. Stop letting your emotions revolve around someone else. Stop letting attachment dictate your actions. Start living with purpose, clarity, and self-respect. When you do this consistently, you will notice a shift. People will respond differently to you. Women will see you in a new light, and most importantly, you will feel different. You will feel complete, confident, and grounded regardless of anyone else's actions. Here's the part I want you to take seriously. I want you to comment below. I want you to share your experiences. Tell me where you've struggled with attachment. Tell me where you've tried too hard to earn respect or approval. And I want to hear how it made you feel, how it affected your life, and where you want to improve. I will personally read your comments and I will respond. This isn't just a video. This is a conversation. This is an opportunity for you to reflect, learn, and take control. I want to connect with you, not just talk at you. Because the truth is, detachment is not something most men figure out on their own. Most men need guidance, reflection, and a reality check. And this is that check. Stop chasing, stop bending, stop letting your emotional state be dictated by someone else. Respect doesn't come from proving yourself. It comes from being grounded, being independent, and being complete on your own. That's controversial because it challenges everything you've been told about relationships, effort, and love. But it's true, and it works. So here's the final challenge. Look at your life honestly. Look at your relationships honestly. Ask yourself if your emotional investment is balanced or if it's rooted in neediness. Ask yourself if you are being the man who commands respect or if you are chasing it. And then take one step today toward detachment. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your peace. Because respect is not given. Respect is not begged for. Respect is earned in one way, by mastering yourself first. Comment below your experiences. Tell me your struggles. Tell me your victories. Let's make this a conversation. I will reach out. I will respond. And together, we will uncover the truth about respect, detachment, and being the man you were meant to be. This is uncomfortable. This is controversial. And this is real. Wake up, men. Your respect, your confidence, and your life are waiting. But only if you take control and detach.